3 years ago, as a freshman in high school, I ran 2 minutes and 11 seconds in the 800 meter. Now, I just graduated high school and I recently won Nike Nationals with a 1 minute and 49 second 800.
Look at this challenge now on the outside. What a surge over the final 80 meters. 149.56. This is going to go to the thousandth place to decide who our national champion is.
In this video, I'm going to talk about every mistake I made and what I did exactly to achieve a sub 150. Now, you might be wondering, how does somebody that only started running track 3 years ago drop 22 seconds off of their 800 meters? That's what I'm here to explain today. So a little background on me. My name is Niles Metcalf, and I started running track 3 years ago as a freshman, looking for a new sport to pursue, since previously I played basketball for most of my life. I wasn't really like no pro or anything, but I fell out of love with it. So I started looking for a new sport, and as I'm walking through the hallways, I see the little sign there for track and field starting in the spring. And so I was interested, looking for a new sport. Went out for it, loved the community, the coaches, and everybody there, and just the overall aspect and environment of the sport. That's how I ended up here where I'm at now. Let me take you through the journey of my freshman year. So initially, I was never even an 800 meter runner to begin with.
You what?
I tried every single event, from high jump to triple jump to 400 and the 200. And I was just really looking around to see what area I would fit best in, and eventually I started running the 400 and the 200 as my main events. And so I think I ended that season off with a 51 second 400, which is pretty good from freshman year, considering my first ever time was 55 seconds. There was one time in the summer of that year where my coach suggested that I should try running an 800 meter. And now, of course, me not wanting to run any further than 400 meters, I did not want to do this. Coach convinced me, and we started practicing for the 800 meter. Got into my heat when it was race day. Had a couple kids older than me. I thought they were about to smoke me, like, to be completely honest. But I went out there. Surprisingly, I was leading by 50 meters, which I had no clue of, and still absolutely no clue how to run the race since I've never done it before. But I came out with about a 2:11, as from the footage you can see here, which is not on athletic.net. I had to dig deep to find this footage for some reason. I don't know why the times were never posted on there, but I found it, so y'all can thank me later. After that, I never really ran the 800 meter until way later on in my high school career. Now, during my sophomore year, I got injured like 3 times. It was a hamstring injury. We had our time trials beginning of the year where pretty sure I pulled my right hamstring during the 100 meter time trial. And then a few weeks later, I recovered, and we had a meet going on where I ran the 400, pulled my other hamstring, and then it came time for our district meet to qual for state, and I pulled my right one again, and I was just so unbelievably like devastated. And it's, I'm kind of just asking, like, why is this happening? Like, it was just such a big roadblock in my track career, to be honest. And it kind of leaves me to this day with just like, I guess I can use the word PTSD to describe it, because I haven't had any like big injuries like that in a long time, luckily. But I just get scared sometimes if, I feel the slightest thing in my leg. It's just like,
shit, here we go again.
It's kind of what that feels like. But in summary of that year, I never really ended up running any new PRs or anything at that, since, of course, I didn't run the 800 meter either. And I didn't really compete throughout that summer. After that summer ended, my coach suggested that I should go out for cross country, which I was a little bit skeptical about, but I ended up going out to do it anyways, just because I needed something to do from the off season. and she said it would help with my endurance, so I thought I might as well. Went out there. It was so hard to go out and do that. Like, I honestly respect people who are good at the 5K, run the 5K, or even just anyone who runs a 5K in general, especially on those hilly courses. Like, I started training a lot with the cross kids, getting a lot of mileage in, and honestly really helped with my endurance, because once we got post-cross season, I started doing the track workouts, and they just felt really easy as opposed to the cross-country workouts I was doing. Then we get into my junior year of track, and this is where I really start getting into the 800. Going back from freshman year, I haven't ran an 800 in about 2 years. So I'm kind of just coming back into this, like, I kind of still don't know how to run this event, but we're gonna learn, and I figured this time around I'll actually start getting into it. My first ever 800 back was in a 4x8, and I ran the first leg, and of course, me not knowing how to run it, I just paced off of someone else. I ended up splitting around low 2 minutes, 1:59, something like that. From there on, we had a couple more 4x8s, and I had a couple more sub 2s in there, but we didn't really run it as much as I did the open 8. Now, the open 800, I ran my first open 800 in a school season in about a 1:56. I remember getting third in that meet.
What the fuck was that?
Following that, I had another meet where I ran 1 minute and 55 seconds, dropped a whole nother second off my previous time. You know, people are now, they're complimenting me. It's like, oh, you're good, you're crazy at the 8, because, you know, especially from my school, because people haven't seen an 800 meter runner like that in forever, and I kind of just pop out of nowhere running like 156s, 155s. And then here's the big moment for me where I really started to, like, just know that I was gonna be a good 800 meter runner. We have our city meet. It's pretty rainy, stormy day, and it was just not ideal weather. So I had to run the 400 that day. I ended up PRing still with the low 49, which that part doesn't matter as much as the 800. The 800 came later, and weather wasn't as bad for it, but in that race, I came out and dropped a huge PR of 1 minute 53 seconds. This was actually a school record for us, considering our last one before me was a 1:54. I don't remember the exact milliseconds, so bear with me, but it was around a 1:54, and I broke it with 1:53. You know, everybody was hype. I think for that year ranked third in the state for the 800, which felt pretty cool. It's crazy, like, to have a big jump like that from, you know, starting out season with a 1:56 all the way up to a 1:53. After then, I didn't really compete in another 800 due to some injuries and whatnot. A lot of it was my sprint speed, though, I feel like, because at the end I just started kicking, as you can see in the video. As further, like, goes to show, because in the open 4, I think a week or so after that, I got a huge PR from a low 49 to 48.03. Now, post-state, I did compete in a couple of meets throughout the summer, but it was cut short because a little bit of injury I had going on again. I think I ran another 800. That one was in about 1 minute 54 seconds, so no PR. Did go out way too fast on the first 400 in about like 52 seconds. Of course, I'm hoping to get to that level one day where I can run 52 seconds and, you know, not be burnt out. Back then, that was junior year for me, and I just died at the end. As you can see in the video, I just looked like I was crumbling apart from that. So Definitely learned not to go out way too fast with the 800. After that, you still can. It just depends on whether you can really hold that or not. Fast forward to fall of my senior year, I ended up doing cross country again for one last time because I do not plan on doing it in college. I'm not trying to run no 8K, 10K. It was good while I did it with the 5Ks. I think I ended with a season best of about 16 minutes and 18 seconds. Then again, it felt like really still did help my endurance, even though I was doing mostly a mix of sprint work, like with my track coach and some of the cross country work. Now we're on to my senior year. And this is a bit after I was doing off-season training with my coach, and now we're doing indoor meets in the winter, which I'd never really done prior besides one my junior year. At least now I'm gaining experience with these events. And so my first couple meets, I did a 400 and an 800. I had to learn from this because you guys be sure to always look at your meet schedule. Don't be like me and like just really pay attention to it, because on this schedule there was a 400, 20 minutes later there was an 800 on there. And at first I'm thinking, okay, you know what, I can recover fast from a 400. I should be good with this. And I couldn't have been further from the truth. I ended up running 50 seconds on that race indoor, and then they started running through the 800s. So by the time I'm sitting there trying to recoup and, you know, get my mind off the 400 and into the 800 now, they're already starting the women's 800 meter. So I have to get ready and go on the line for the 800, and it didn't go too well. It was probably one of the worst feeling 800s I've ever ran. I think I went in about 2 minutes, like a mid to high 2 minutes, something like that, which I was pretty disappointed in. But at the same time, I knew that I was just burnt out from the races before. So after then, for these meets, I just started doing one event, and I ended up doing the 400 one last time with 49.4, I'm pretty sure. That's what I ended up with. I was pretty proud of it since this was on a flat 200 meter track, like 6 lanes. I'm pretty sure it's pretty hard to do that on that track. But then I did another 800 meter by itself, got about minute 58 on there. There was a few problems in that race because, for one, I was all the way in the back. I was not in the super alley at all. So I was in the back of the waterfall since I ran that mid, like 2 minute something 800 meter. And I was going to have competition that day. And there's going to be like about a 157 guy that he runs that indoor, but then he never showed up. I ended up running from all the way out in the back, and I was pretty much by myself because it was pretty hard for me to pace indoor, which is something I'm still learning. But it just takes meets and experience. So you guys, just if you can, go out for meets, like, because the worst thing you could probably do is just train and train and train and train during the off season and just not take advantage of any of the indoor meets happening. Or maybe it's summer and there's a couple other meets happening, because that's where you really improve, is having the competition and just by being in that race environment. Because if you're training and training and training and training during the off season, sure, you're getting all the work in and whatnot, but compared to the guy that's going out there and competing in these meets all the time and really running against competition and learning how to run his race from competing in there, it's just he's getting the better leverage and the upper hand because he now knows how to efficiently race. Anyways, let me cut that short. Now we're on to my outdoor season of senior year, which there was a lot of complications throughout the season because my hamstrings were getting tight yet again. And I was not really touching the times I was hoping for the first couple of meets. I think I had about a 157 800 at one of our open meets, which I was, for one, pretty much running by myself. And then two, the weather was just insanely cold that day. And safe to say, I was pretty tight with that. And the next couple meets after that, did the 400. And I'd really been trying to break 48, which was just a struggle for me. There's so many ways, because the first meet we had, I was in lane 1. They couldn't give me a seed time, even though I ran that time way back indoor. But I guess because I was unattached and didn't run it as a part of my school, they wouldn't let me go in with it. But anyways, I went out there, ran about a mid 48 second, like about 48.3, which is pretty good. But I was still, with just my drive and hunger for the game, I'm just kind of like, damn, like I wanted to break 48 today. But I'm like, okay, it's okay. We got next meet. Then the next meet we had that I ran the 400, it was just really cold and just not ideal weather at all to run a 400. So I ended up running about 48.4. By this point, I hadn't really ran another 800 either. Like, I was just mainly focused on the 400 since I was like badly trying to break 48. And then the day finally came where I ended up doing it. We had our meet. Luckily, it was an in-city meet, so we didn't have to do no bus ride, nothing like that. I just pull up on my own time. But I'm sitting there, mentally preparing myself. I've been ready to do this. And then storm delay comes along. And I kid you not, we were in the school for about like 2 to 3 hours. I was just hoping they wouldn't cancel the meet, but for how long they were in there, it just felt like it was never gonna get like resumed. So I'm kind of just sitting back there, I'm eating some candy and whatnot. I'm like, there's just no way they're gonna run this meet again. And then out of nowhere, after finally a few hours, they announce for everybody to come back outside and that they're resuming the meet. And I think we're about on the 110s by this point. And so I'm kind of shocked. I just got done eating all this candy and whatnot. I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta like lock back in. And so all of a sudden too, it was like really hot out of nowhere, and it's just like completely like opposite weather of what we just had, just pouring out earlier. Anyways, I lock in, I warm up and get ready for this 400, and I got just a huge PR out of it, because previously I had my PR from junior year, which I mentioned, 48.03, and I dropped it that day all the way down to a 47.1 second 400. Even then, everyone still ends up making mistakes, because I got out way too hard on that first 200, and I came out in like maybe a low 22 second, mid 22 second, and I had to be low 22 seconds. And then my legs just died at the end. Like, honestly felt like I was about to collapse and fall over the line. Regardless, still got the PR. I was finally satisfied, but knowing me, I still want more. I was supposed to run the 800 that day, but of course, the 800 was just like almost right after the 400, so I just could not afford to do that to myself. However, the next meet, I did end up running the 800. I ended up going 153 flat, slight PR for me. Still broke my own school record, which felt pretty cool. And I was also kind of just running against myself this race, and that was mainly the problem for me. After last year when I went a minute 53, I just never really had that same competition for a while. And like that would explain why I'd been winning every single 800. I just really felt like I could knock down that time further if I had competition, which is what I was going and telling everybody. Like, I could definitely drop my time down lower if I had competition in my heat and whatnot. Regardless, ran that time, and I remember I did get out pretty fast in the first 4 again. At practice, this is what at practice, I'll get out for a first 200 rep, or maybe we'll be doing a 500 that day. And coach will tell me the splits are like a couple of seconds off. And I'm like, what? Like, I've never ran this hard for an 800 ever before. And sure enough, I get into the race and I'm like either right on the mark or a little bit faster than it. So I think I came out in about a 26, high 25, 200. And then I split a really low 54 for the first lap. And I noticed that when I was coming through, because my targets at first were 55, but came through too fast. And so I slowed down at the 400 meter mark a little bit to try and conserve energy, which after what I've learned, don't do this, because it just really does not benefit you at all. Like, you gotta start going faster there, if anything. Not a full like send or anything, like don't send it right there, but you gotta just start going right there, like, because if you don't, you're just really gonna stay at the same time for a while. This is what I ended up doing. Even at my race at state, I PR'd by just a little bit. Also, I went 152.9, sub 153. At the same time, I definitely had more in the tank because of what I explained earlier. I just didn't go out as fast as I could. I just didn't know when to kick in the race. Now we get into the big moments. This is after my high school track season is done, and now it's just kind of summer track club stuff. I'm just, I'm seeing what I can really do. And I pop out to a meet that I actually did last year where I ran the 154. Entering myself in, I'm thinking, oh, it's just going to be another easy win. Just, we'll see if I can PR and whatnot. Since last year, I didn't really have too much competition. However, I look at the entries and I see there is a kid that actually has a faster seed than me. And I'm like, ooh, this should be pretty interesting. I think he was a below 151 coming in from out of state. I think I started running at around 7 p.m., which I just don't really like, waiting all day for the meet, anticipating it the whole time. It finally came up to that time. I was really tired. I'm just kind of sitting in my chair, nodding off like this. And even after I warmed up, I was just really tired and did not feel like running. Got onto the line. We started running, and my whole plan was just to kind of sit and kick behind that guy, especially since I didn't really feel like running it. First lap came out pretty easy. I think I split about 55.3 the first 400. The guy in front of me starts speeding up a little bit on the next lap. And so I start sticking with him, following him. And luckily, me and my coach have been doing workouts prior to this with the 500 and whatnot. But anyways, we just keep speeding up. And then once we hit about the 550 mark, that's when I start kicking it, since he's still in front of me and I figure I can still get ahead of him. And as you can see in the clip, this is where I start to pass him using my arms with the sprint form. I just start kicking it into full gear. I was dying, to be honest, because I've never kicked that early in an 800. I always wait till like the last 150 meters to start doing so. Regardless, I dropped my time that day by about 3.5 seconds, which is insane for anybody to do. Because I remember looking up at that board and I just didn't even believe it, to be honest. Like, it just felt so unreal. But I crossed that line in 1 minute 49 seconds, and I was like, wow, like such a big PR. Like, everyone instantly started hitting up my phone, because Nebraska high school, that's like the state record right there by a whole second over that even. It was a crazy experience, to say the least, and very unexpected, considering how I mentioned earlier that I was tired, did not feel like running this at all, and I just came in there 149. Like, it doesn't really make sense, but I just went out there and did it. A couple weeks after that, I'm here training up for Nike Nationals since I had that coming up. And initially I had my 152 from before as my seed. But since I ran 149, I decided might as well put that in so I can get a faster heat going. I had a lot more confidence, but with a big jump like that, you really have to convince yourself that you belong in a group like that. Because, I mean, that doesn't happen too often where you have a big jump like that. As I'm on the line here, we did something that I've never done before, which was starting in our own lanes. Because, of course, I've been used to waterfall start. I'm in lane 1 for some reason, which I didn't really know why. I ended up getting out a little bit slower than I hoped for. It was kind of the plan to go out a bit slower because I'm like, I want to make the first lap a bit easier so I can have more to give out at the end. By this race footage here, you can see I was in dead last throughout the entire first lap, which kind of had me thinking, am I going out way too slow, or like, are these guys just going out way too fast? Like, I honestly did not know. Now that I have experience from my last 149, I'm like, okay, I got to start picking it up now. And then I get on to the group that's leading, and I'm still moving at a good pace here. And around the last 200 meters, that's when I really start to kick it into gear. And you can see slowly that I'm just catching everybody off of here with my sprint speed. And then the last 100 comes along, and I'm just full sending. I end up going into lane 2, lane 3 to pass the last 2 guys. And I crossed the line. No PR, but I still went really close to it. I was at a 149.56, and my PR is 149.52. So insanely close, right? Of course, I did stuff like celebrating before the line, which probably took off a couple milliseconds, added a couple milliseconds. All in all, I still went another sub 150, which, further proves to me that, like, that wasn't luck when I ran it the first time, or it wasn't fake or nothing. Like, it's there now. Like, I'm officially a sub 150 800 runner. And it made it crazy at the meet that the guy from a couple heats before me went 149, same exact time down to the millisecond. So they had to go down to about the 5,000ths of a second just to figure out who would win. And I ended up getting it. That's the medal. If y'all want to look at that, give you a little close-up look. And I even have the ribbon still back there from when I won, crossed the line. And overall, just crazy experience. And with that, that's a wrap on the video. In summary, like, you can do it. You just have to be consistent. And honestly, sprint speed helps a lot with this event, considering I can just go out there and cruise through the first lap and then just kick it at the end. I still have a long way to go, and this is really just only the start because I'm not even in college yet, and I'm already sub 150 in the 800, which is insane. And like, I'm top 20 in the country right now for high schoolers, which I never expected to be at. All glory to God again. Like, couldn't do that without him. But feels great to be national champion now in the 800. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be back to make a 400-meter progression video, so stay tuned for that, and hope you guys have a good one.